Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. Liftoff.
Hello. What is up, guys? Hunter Klein here, bringing you this week's episode of Interplanetary Monkeys, episode number 40. 40 straight weeks, guys. I don't want to get back on the soapbox. I don't want to sound like a broken record. I don't want to lazily recycle old content. But things are just so exciting right now, guys. This podcast means so much to me, okay? It means so much to me. It's one of the pillars of my life that provides me excitement and gets me excited to wake up in the mornings. And the amount of energy that we're getting right now, all right? The amount of like-minded individuals that are starting to migrate together in this community is absolutely insane. It's beautiful. It feels so good to have people reaching out in the DM saying, I relate here, and you made me think about this, and you changed this, and you affected this, and we're doing this. Guys, it's absolutely incredible, okay? It is absolutely incredible. Need I remind you guys, that this podcast, was started a couple years ago, or the foundation for this podcast, the equipment I'm using, was acquired through a GoFundMe. I didn't have the money to start this, but I just spent a good 20, 30 hours on a GoFundMe and just started sharing it. Like, please help me start this adventure. I want a podcast. This is the journey for me. Please help me. And people did, guys. It started with just generous people that saw a young man pushing a car alone on the side of the road and stopped and took time out of their day. They stopped to help me push this vehicle, this dream. So thank you to everyone that supported off the bat. We wouldn't be here without that initial investment. And thank you to everyone that still tunes in. If you're tuned in, right? If you've been here from the beginning. If you're one of those people that text me fucking Monday right after the episode releases and just like, yo, this was crazy. Or if you're one of those people that just showed up and you're like, oh, this is the dude that talked about homosexual vibes. Whoever you are, you're supporting this beautiful, beautiful journey. And thank you guys. Okay. Speaking of last week in the homosexual vibes, guys, this is hilarious. I had such a good time. I got so many texts from people telling me I come off as a straight male that I started to actually question my sexuality. It worked backwards, right? I'll be straight up with you guys. I got so many texts and DMs about my sexuality that I completely forgot the reason for all of the feedback, and I started to question my sexuality, okay? And, it wasn't out of the blue. Imagine this, okay? So it's Tuesday, right? The podcast came out on Monday. It's Tuesday. I'm not really thinking about the podcast too much. I'm sitting down on my couch, to relax a little bit for the week, all right? Forgetting that I have the podcast, forgetting that I have some work to do, some stuff to grade, and I have a little glass of tequila, all right? We're getting a little buzzed. We're kind of out of it, right? Meditating, if you will. Not really meditating. I'm watching something. But I open my phone, and I pull up my phone, kind of, separated from my normal life, and I have 13 new messages across 5 different platforms, all saying messages like, you seem straight. You seem straight. A buddy joking saying, gay vibes for sure, right? All of this just in my phone out of nowhere. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Is my sexuality up for debate right now? Right? Is this something that's happening on the internet right now? It was such an interesting dynamic, guys. And it was just really funny. Now, luckily, I hung out with an absolutely beautiful young lady that brought me back to earth, but these things got a little dicey in the noggin there for a few days. All right, but it's all fun, and much love to all you that not only listen but reach out after the episodes, guys. That means so much to me, and it's an amazing thing that we're creating here for sure. All right, and I'm I talk about it and I'm seeing it, but other people are seeing it too, and other people are feeling it and jumping on because they want to be a part of the adventure. Okay, a lot going on in the world right now, guys. And there's 2 major things I want to cover. Okay, so one being the social dilemma. Okay. We are absolutely talking about the social dilemma. But before we do, right, I think it's really important that we talk about the Breonna Taylor decision. Okay. I want to talk about the Kentucky Attorney General's announcement on the Breonna Taylor decision. I'm not giving you guys recycled information, a recycled news article from some dude that lives in New York. I watched the entire announcement, which was about an hour or so long, from beginning to end. All right. This consisted of the presentation of evidence, the grand jury decision, and the Attorney General or Daniel Cameron's fielding of question from the press. Okay, I want to talk to you guys about this. And I don't want to give you my opinion. I want to give you the raw information. Okay? So let's get into it. Okay, before we get into the social dilemma, because I have a lot to say about that stuff. All right, so first, I'm going to give you the story that the grand jury was presented to, okay? So this is the story, this is the information that the grand jury received in Kentucky. They received and is what they used to make their decision, okay? So let's get into it. 3 officers had a search warrant for an apartment. Okay? 2 officers go to the front door, 1 goes to the back. All right, since the officers have a warrant, they knock and announce, "We have a warrant to enter the building." Okay, no one answers. Now, this knocking by the officers at the front door is confirmed by a civil witness. Someone is hearing this. Okay? So the decision is made to breach the apartment. The 2 officers at the front door breach the apartment. Upon breaching the apartment, they are looking down a hallway with the door open. They are now in the apartment. They're looking down the hallway, and there are 2 people at the end of the hallway. One is a man, and the other is Breonna Taylor. Now, the man, stated by the officer, the man is already holding a gun up at the officer. Okay, and before anything happens, the man fires a shot at the officer, right? No violence has happened yet. They breach the door. They have a warrant. No one answered, so they came in. They walk in, Breonna Taylor and Kenneth Walker, I believe his name is Kenneth Walker. His first name is 100%. Yep, Kenneth Walker is standing there pointing a gun, and he shoots a shot at the officers. Okay? Now, the shooter, Kenneth Walker, admits to shooting first, right? This isn't a debate. This isn't something that was made up. The shooter, the man with Breonna Taylor, admits to shooting first. Okay? And this is confirmed. All right. So the man fired his gun and it hit the officer in the thigh. The 2 officers standing at the front door and the one in the back, then opened fire. Okay. So the guy in the back really didn't do anything. He shot some shots and it went through the walls. It actually went into the apartment next door. He didn't hit anybody. He was kind of out of it. I don't really have a good mental picture of the scene, but he wasn't involved. But of the 2 officers in front, all right, that breached the door, that saw Breonna Taylor and Kenneth Walker shoots 1 shot, starts the engagement. That shot hits the officer in the thigh. The officers freak out. Okay, the first officer shoots 6 shots. Okay, and in that same time frame, the second officer at the front that just breached the apartment shoots 16 shots. All right, 22 shots were totally taken there from those first 2 officers that breached. Now, 6 of these shots hit Breonna Taylor, and 1 was lethal. And she was killed, they assume, anywhere from instantly to 2 minutes, right? That being the 1 lethal shot. So this is the information that the grand jury was presented with, and their verdict, right? And what many of you probably have heard. They decided that the 2 officers that breached, Officer Mattingly and Officer Cosgrove, were justified in their return of deadly fire by being fired upon by the man with Breonna Taylor or Kenneth Walker. Okay? Now, I am not going to tell you how to think here, okay? And I'm not going to share my opinion with you. And I have given you all of the essential information that the grand jury made a decision off of, okay? What I'm going to do is ask that you spend just 5 minutes, whether it be today, after this podcast, or later this week. Inform your own opinion on this story, guys. Right? It's not very complex. All right? It's not hard to understand or paint this picture of what happened. I ask that you make your own opinion on this story. Okay? We all have our own individual definitions of justice, carved by our experiences and our individual journeys through life that we talked about last week. Okay, what is your opinion? Don't let some New York Times journalist tell you how to feel, or a 30-second Facebook clip tell you how to feel. Okay? And I will tell you, once you look at the story, once you look at the facts, once you see the when I looked at this press conference, guys, the decision is not easy. All right? What do? Do you say to that officer, "No, you're not allowed to shoot?" Right? If the officers were fired upon, right? I think many people would agree that you should be able to defend yourself, but they missed. They didn't hit the threat. They hit Breonna. They killed an innocent bystander. Should they be punished for having a bad shot? For shooting one bullet that was, or for a few bullets that were, or losing control of their recoil in an attempt to defend themselves? It gets dicey, guys. All right? And I don't think it's too much for me to ask that you form your own opinion on this story, because, all the information there takes a total of about 2 minutes to digest. Rather than you go on to someone ranting on YouTube about this is wrong, make your own opinion, guys, because it is not an easy thing to figure out, right? There's no clear cut. If it was clear cut, there wouldn't be riots right now, right? There's a lot of backlash in the conference. The decision by Daniel, I believe his name was very interesting. Especially because he was a black man giving the announcement. Okay, so it was very interesting for, his name is Daniel Cameron, to give this announcement as a black man, and really truly communicate in a very genuine way that they think that they came to the best decision possible based on the information that they believe was justified and it was good enough to present to a grand jury, I guess. Okay, so that's what I ask. Think about it, guys. Make your own opinion. Okay, it's not clear cut. It's not clear cut at all. Okay. Now on to the social dilemma. Okay, and if I counter you in the world and you have not seen the Social Dilemma Netflix documentary, I will instantly lose a slight amount of respect for you, friend. Straight up. Absolutely straight up. Okay, the message behind the documentary is so essential for our generations, these new generations. My generation, our generation, is the first to grow up with phones, social media, and like buttons. Okay? And it is very, very important that we understand the downfalls of this, the curse of this, the implications of this, guys. They are very, very serious. Right? And I think that's what adds so much impact to the story. Okay, now I want to make a quick important point before we dive in, and that is I don't think you should mindlessly go into documentaries like this. No matter how much I hype them up or anybody hypes them up, I don't think you should go into documentaries like this saying, "All right, tell me what to think. I'm ready." Okay? Documentaries have agendas. They have a message they want to send. And in order to deliver this message in the most elegant and profound way, they have to leave out certain sides of the argument and certain sides of the discussion. Now, sometimes this can be malicious, but in this case, I don't think it is. I think it's just a very, very sound storytelling technique. Okay, and to show you this, for example, if you say you want to show someone how strong and heroic our founding fathers were, how amazing the birth of the United States was, right? You'd probably leave out the fact that our first president or some of these people that were writing the Declaration of Independence were actually slave owners, okay? Because that makes people go, oh, shit, wait a minute. This isn't that dope, right? It takes away from the message you're trying to send. And in this specific case of our founding fathers, it makes this story that you want people to feel proud of, and it knocks people out of it. Right? We experienced that in our social studies class in middle school, or I did at least, because I wasn't told that stuff. Because that class was designed to hype you up, guys. My point is that this is a storytelling technique. an innate result or consequence of trying to get someone to feel a certain way. All right. By leaving out some of for example, the positive sides of technology, it adds more impact. It adds more oomph to this idea, to the real message, the dangers of technology that the social dilemma is trying to show us. All right. So we have to approach the social dilemma with this in mind. Why not walk through it? Okay. So, what is the goal of the documentary? What are they trying to do? Okay, the social dilemma is trying to show the public the business side of technology. Simply put, straight up, the business side of social media in our cell phones. Okay, so the next logical question here is, why would they want to show us the business side of technology? They want to show us it because it has some dark aspects and some dangerous implications if it is not controlled. And the more the public is aware, the more attention these issues will get, the more likely they are to be checked, taken care of, and managed by tech companies. But what about our point? Right. Well, we said there are biases here. All right. What are we missing out on? What parts of the story did the social dilemma purposely leave out? They purposely left out mainly the good sides of technology. All right. The building of communities and the lives that have been saved and the careers that have been made. All of this has been left out. I think there is literally 3 minutes out of the 94 that talk about positives of technology. And they've been left out. I don't think this is malicious, guys. I don't think it's malicious. Okay? It adds impact. It helps the story move along. And this message, guys, what this documentary is trying to show us needs impact because it is big. Okay, so I think it was the right move for this. Especially, guys, coming from someone, I am probably one of the most positive technology dudes in the world. I'm constantly talking about the opportunities it creates and the connections that it allows us to make. Hell, this podcast was built off technology. I've had huge moments in my career and my education that were completely made possible by technology, right? So I am always for fleshing out and talking about the positives, and even I think it is necessary to leave him out of a documentary like this so we can add a little extra oomph to our message. Okay, so if you haven't watched The Social Dilemma, I suggest you do. But I'm going to go over and pretty much give you what I think the main message is here. Okay, so what is the documentary about? Okay, The Social Dilemma is about how tech companies are using persuasive technology and using the attention they get from it, your attention, my attention, to make money. Okay, a lot of money. Actually, probably the most money. It's insane. Now, persuasive technology is technology that manipulates your human psychology and gets you to click notifications. Notifications on your home screen that the girl that you talked to just posted. Notifications showing you that your post is doing well. Come check it out. Your post is getting more likes than usual. Come on in, right? To further emphasize the problem here and why I think this is the main take home sentence for the doc, there is a dedicated field of work in technology called growth hacking. And what the purpose of this field is, growth hacking, their job is to figure out how to get you to spend more time liking, scrolling, and clicking. And how do they do this? They do this by exploiting human psychology, by manipulating you, by subliminally working your psychology. They take more of your time and keep you on the app. Well, why do they want you on the app? Why do they want your time? Because the more time you spend on the app, the more ads that they can feed you. Okay? The VP of growth at Facebook, the ex-VP of growth at Facebook, the man in charge for what I just mentioned, said in an interview, and I quote, "We want to figure out how to psychologically manipulate as fast as possible, and then we give you a dopamine hit immediately after." Okay, what I've detailed above is pretty much the main message I took away from the documentary. And it's very, very important to realize what's happening here, guys, because we are all involved. These social media accounts are free. And if you're not paying for the product, friend, you are the product. There is a dollar amount assigned to every second of your attention, a dollar amount to your clicks and your interests, and all this information has value, right? These aspects of you are measured, stored, and weaponized to give you everything you need on your apps and phones so you will stay as long as possible. Right? And if we don't control this, right, if we don't take this documentary seriously, if we don't establish ethical boundaries, these tech companies can literally decide what you think and when you think it. They can sway elections. They can cause uproar in society, and they can distribute false information, guys. And you could easily make an argument that all three of these examples that I just gave have already happened because as a result of the control and power they have. Okay? This is a serious issue if not talked about and dealt with. And the social dilemma was created to show us this. 100%. Now, while these dangerous aspects of social technology need to be controlled and regulated, I do not believe, guys, I do not believe the complete removal of social technology is the answer. I don't think deleting social media is the answer. I don't think staying off the platform is an answer. Okay, because we can't forget about the positives. Right? The ability to create communities. Look before you. This podcast. The ability to share perspectives and grow and create ideas and collaborate and create art and so on, guys. What is not mentioned in this documentary is that social media has a very beautiful side. Right? Technology and its ability to connect us is very beautiful, guys. There is so much value here. Technology and the connection that it provides between humans has changed the world for the better, I believe. And many of these people in the documentary, while they're trying to raise awareness for these dangers, would agree with me here. Right? They even say it in the doc. Right? It has changed the world for the better. But we just have to be careful, because things can get a little out of control. Once this snowball gains enough momentum, gains enough mass, it'll get really, really hard to stop that bad boy. Right? So what we're trying to do is trying to control a little bit. We want technology being the snowball. We want technology to roll forward. We want the snowball to keep going, but we don't want it to get out of control. We don't want it to take on a life of its own. Okay? And I just think we have to start being very careful because, you know, that coin can turn, right? I believe, without a doubt, that social media provides more benefits to society right now than it does negatives, but it can turn, and I think we're starting to see that. Okay? You guys can think about this right now in social media. Think about you trying to learn about COVID. Think about all of us trying to figure out if we should wear masks. Right? How fucking hard is it to find a legit article online? And you know why? Because when you search COVID or when you search deaths of COVID, the top articles, you are getting filtered the most popular articles, right? Google doesn't care about giving you accurate information. Google cares about giving you information that you're most interested in, that you're most likely to click, okay? Because that makes money. You're most likely to click scary fucking titles, friends. You're most likely to click a title that says, COVID is coming for you if you don't do X, Y, and Z, right? 65 people died in 2 seconds. Like these scary, crazy articles that the world is ending get you to click most. And the algorithms for these search engines don't give a shit about the right information. They care about, oh gosh, 95% of people decided to click this scary title, right? It must be, I'm sure he'll like it. Let's put it to the top of his feed. Guys, if you go on Google and you type in climate change is, the autofill will be different based on where you live. Okay, does this make sense? If you live in a place where climate change denial is very popular, the number one at the top of your list will be climate change is, and it will autofill a hoax. My point here being is that Google's number one priority, the way those algorithms work, isn't to benefit you the most. It is not made to grow your knowledge and give you the facts and let you live the most educated and fulfilled life. Those algorithms, these programs are designed to give you whatever is going to get you to click at any cost. All right? The cost here being the truth. Right? This is one of the potential dangers. Think about COVID, guys. This is why I can't go on this is why I can't go on news websites anymore, because it's all BS and it's all just fear mongering. Oh, it's rough, guys. So I hope I'm starting to make sense for you guys here, right? It's messy. It's very messy. But here's the deal. Here's what I think, okay? The app is free, right? And I get a certain amount of money out of that app. Right? For me, that trade-off is worth it. Okay, you're going to farm my information. Cool. But I am also getting valuable connections with my podcast community. I'm also, meeting wonderful women and DMing people and connecting with old friends. Cool. I don't pay for the app. Sure, you can farm some of my stuff and give me some advertisers. Let's not forget, the algorithms aren't too fucking bad either, friends, okay? Right, they know so much about me that their advertisements are pretty much spot on as far as the clothes that I would actually buy, as far as the watch that I actually want. Right, so it's not too bad, and there is a convenience to it. I just think that, like I said, it's a snowball, guys, and it's rolling and it's catching momentum. Right, we have to be careful at some level. All right, I'll tell you one last thing about this technology. All right, just yesterday I was texting this girl, and I asked her if she'd ever seen Kevin Hart before. Keep in mind, I just watched Social Dilemma a second time to refresh myself and talk about it on the pod. I texted this girl and I said, "Have you?" She said, "Do you have any comedian or comedy stand up recommendations?" And of course, I said Kevin Hart. Because if you haven't seen Kevin Hart stand up, you are missing out on one of the most beautiful joys of the human experience. But I asked, have you seen Kevin Hart? You've obviously seen Kevin Hart, right? I open up Instagram 30 minutes later, and the first ad is from Kevin Hart for real. Kevin Hart's Instagram account. Okay? They 100% saw my text with this girl. Okay, not only did they see my text, but when I pull up my app, she's the number one person that shows up on my feed, because they know I'm interested. They know I want to click. They want me to stay. Right? They know I'm thinking about Kevin Hart right now. They want me to stay. Things are very connected. Right? But like I said, guys, I don't think you need to be scared. I think it's just important to be aware of all of this. We have to know. We can't be these mindless little creatures that are like literally getting farmed for attention, okay? So many people do fall prey to this, right? And there's a dangerous side to it. It can get out of control, and there's a reason that so many of these people in the documentary, so many of these people working at huge tech companies don't let their kids use the technology that they create. Okay? Because there is a dark side to it. It's a little manipulative. And at the end of the day, there's a business behind it, guys. There's a capitalist little root in there. Right? And we have to be careful. All right? I feel like I'm just going way too hard on this, guys, but it's so important. It's so important. This is such a huge part of our lives, guys. I guarantee almost every single person listening to this podcast has been affected psychologically by social media in a very big way throughout their life. Because we've been raised in a world where it's so important to have, the followers on your Instagram account is like, it's like the car you have in your driveway. It's so important. Okay? And we praise people that have high amounts of followers, and we just it's just this, it's embedded into our culture, guys. And flat out, it's so important for us to understand, because we are the first generation in history to actually be affected by the technology at this level, right? We grew up with it. I've had a Twitter since I can remember. I don't really use it. I've had an Instagram since I can remember. Right? They've just naturally fallen into our lives. I think it's important for us to understand how those systems work and what the business side is. All right. All right, guys. Hell yes. Now, before we end today, I want to change, or maybe retune is a better word. I want to retune my opinion on dating that I've talked about in the past. Okay, so some of you probably remember me going on rants about how autonomous it can be and how it feels like you're just in an interview and it feels so staged and blah, 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 blah. Super negative fucking outlook on dating. All right, but I'm not going to completely dish this perspective because, to be fair, I was talking about online, Hinge, Tinder, grimy stuff like that. Okay, this is totally still the case with dates that come from apps like Tinder and Hinge. Hinge being the one with the great slogan we talked about. These apps still provide a shitty way to meet partners, in my opinion. They give random meetups that are sparked with simply thinking a photo is sexy, and I just can't get behind it, guys. It's too shallow for me. I feel like you have to be in a desperate place for that to happen. Right? But let's get back on topic here. This was my only angle on dating because I had never done it. To be quite truthful with you guys, I had truly never gone on a date until this last week. Right? Being in college and being like a social person, it's always like, yeah, I'll meet you at this place or at this hangout. Like, you're not really going out and sitting down with new people and meeting new people in new settings. Okay. Now, I think that what was special about this experience is that it didn't spark from an online app or, some kind of like swiping, right? It was natural, right? It didn't spark from me looking for a date or trying to meet people. I was just kind of floating around. I'd kind of given up on the idea, to be honest. It just happened organically with someone that I naturally connected with. And it was a beautiful experience. Now, I know I'm making this sound like I discovered fire here, but I've never truly done it, guys. So this is something very new for me, right? It's one more step in the direction of my adulthood and my adult adventure. Right? And like I said, until now, everything has always been, I'll see you at the party or at this hangout, right? And I don't have that opportunity anymore, right? So in order to meet people, I got to take leaps, I guess is what I'm saying. And I did that. And I'm excited about it. Right, being somewhat of an adult about it and meeting at a coffee shop is a new game for me, but a game that I find very fun and interesting. Now, or newly, I guess we could say. I'm going to places I would never normally explore in Phoenix and getting out of my comfort zone and commuting and communicating with a beautiful girl, and it's just wonderful, guys. So my retuned, matured opinion, okay, on dating is online apps are still shitty. But organically arise dating is awesome, right? And you can't get that online. You can't get that in an app. You can't get that by looking, I don't think. I think you just kind of float around. Now, I think there is some aspect of you that kind of has to take the leap, right? Because it's easy to meet someone here or randomly and just be like, like we talked about last week, maybe there's like a little connection. Maybe you're like, oh, wow, what was that? Some subliminal under the level of like, there's just a vibe. They have an aura. You're like, okay, cool. Now, what am I going to do about it? Right? That's the question, right? And that's kind of what decides whether or not you get to truly experience these organically arised meetups, dates, I guess. All right. But yeah, organically arised dating is awesome, guys. I had my first experience and it was great. It was fantastic. I felt like, I got the butterfly feeling that you get like when you're given a conversation or when you're given a talk for the first time in like undergrad in your freshman year. Right? It was cool. Getting out of your comfort zone, putting yourself out there, truly being yourself and seeing how it manifests itself on a date is an interesting thing, right? Like meeting someone and just being like, okay, here's me. What do you think? That's a very interesting thing. Something that I've enjoyed and I will continue to do, guys. Okay? Okay. Guys, I'm not going to go on this thankful spiel again because it's super annoying. But I will say this. The podcast is developing a lot right now. We're growing a lot. We're getting a lot more feedback than ever and so on. We're having a lot of success. But there is still one major thing that I want to make a part of this adventure. Okay? And if you're still listening to this, if you're here at the end of the episode, then you are a number one candidate for what I'm going to suggest. Okay? I want to make this podcast interactive. I want to have you guys calling in, giving feedback, speaking your mind, right? You don't have to be a fucking articulate speaker, right? I podcast. I do this every week. I do it off camera. I practice or whatever. I do this. I teach classes. I'm an experienced talker. You don't have to be a fucking murderer. You don't have to be the most articulate person. Just come on and talk. The expectations aren't high. Just come share your perspectives, guys. And now you're probably asking, okay, Hunter, how do I get involved? If you want it to be interactive, how do I? Okay, well, a couple weeks back, I created a phone number for Interplanetary Monkeys dedicated to the podcast. All right, this phone number is 602-892-4371. Now, what you do if you want to get involved is you call this number, you leave a voicemail, say your name, maybe where you're from, and what you're thinking. Straight up, you can talk about anything. And what I'll do is I'll pull up my phone, I'll go to the voicemails on that number, and I will connect my phone to my computer and play your voicemail on air or during my recording. All right? So it goes something like, all right, let's go to our first call. Let's check it out. Boom, play. You hear them talking. I pause it. I riffed a little bit. Play again. Right? I want to get you guys involved. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. People are reaching out, and we have the numbers to do it. We just need people to kind of start taking the leap and showing people what good can come out of it. All right, and I think that'd be really fun, guys. I've seen some of my other favorite podcasters do it, and I think it's 100% the move, without a doubt. Okay. So again, the IP Monkeys phone number is 602-892-4371. It'll be really obvious because I'll say IP Monkeys in the whatever. Go to the voicemail, leave your message. I'll play it on air, and we'll rock on, family. All right. All right. Guys, don't forget about the Breonna Taylor thing. Maybe even go back. Maybe even watch the press conference. Make your own decision. Think about it, guys. This is a huge event for our times, and will be talked about for many years in the future. And I think it's a very valuable thing if you can think about that independently from other people and on yourself. Social Dilemma, if you haven't watched it, what are you doing, bud? What are you doing? All right? You're doing yourself, not only yourself, but society a disservice, brother and sisters. Okay? Okay. That's it for this week's episode of Interplanetary Monkeys. This is Hunter Klein, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace out.